Hello and welcome to another episode of the Monday Night Wars. It is May 6th, 1996, and we are live with WCW Nitro at the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, Florida. Whoop, 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 whoop. Spring break. With me, as always, is Joseph. Joseph, how are you?
I'm fantastic, and I apologize to listeners if this sounds weird. I'm recording in a different location today, so I do not have my normal setup. But maybe it sounds great, and people go, "Hey, do that from now on." We'll find out.
We're gonna do that audio. We're gonna do the audio leveling and all that kind of stuff. You're gonna sound
You know what we
crisp.
should do? I got a better idea than that. Oh my god, dude, you're gonna love this idea. Instead, we do an audio filter that makes me sound like I'm phoning in.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Because there ain't no party like a Nitro party.
Oh, we're gonna get there.
And boy, are we. But before we get there, we got to get through this week. So let's talk about it. Because we got Eric, we got Bobby, and we got Steve Mongo McMichael on the commentary. And we got our first. It's Randy Savage, Joseph. I know you like him. And Hugh Morris.
Oh.
And Hugh Morris wins by DQ. 5 minutes. Macho Man is crazy, Joseph. He's out of hand. He's out of control. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, let's start with what Mach is wearing, which is that neon green outfit I don't like. However, I will say this. He's wearing the Macho Man t-shirt that he will start wearing in different colors kind of from this point on, and I love it. It's got like usually it just says Macho Man and like usually like black, and it kind of has this weird like pyramid effect. It's really cool. Anyways, you know that I do not like Hugh Morris. We've talked about it many times just watching either. I don't know if I've ever talked about it on the podcast because he's not been super prevalent. Not a fan of Hugh Morris. Don't like the gimmick. However, I will say I really enjoyed him starting off by just attacking Mach and almost awakening the beast within. I mean, he really does go in on Mach. He doesn't even let him get into the ring before he starts attacking him. And that works really well. And honestly, from a heel standpoint, I'm for it. Obviously, there's no storyline between these two men, but Hugh Morris's antics kind of create or continue rather a storyline that we've been seeing with Mach, which is that Mach is, so close to the edge. I've only got one marble left, and I don't know what I'm gonna do when I lose it. I don't know if he said that yet, but he will at some point, and I love it. It's one of my favorite Mach lines ever. And he just snaps. He snaps and he beats the holy hell out of Hugh Morris. And then he hits a diving elbow on him when he's unconscious. And then he tries to murder him via hanging, that's crazy. And then Savage starts punching the ref, hits him with the body slam, hits him with the diving elbow. Luckily, doesn't try to hang him. And then by this point, like everybody has to come out, police and security and
Yeah, they got the
the
police. They
refs.
have to call the state troopers to stop this
And
guy.
Mach ends up he doesn't get arrested, but he does get walked out. And the whole time this is going on, literally the entire time, and they don't really do this anymore in wrestling. The whole time this is going on, the timekeeper is banging on the bell just over and over and over. No break, just continuing, and it's great. The crowd actually loves it, and they're 100% right. This is a fantastic opening, and I will give Hugh Morris 100% props for what he brings to this. I gave this an A because even though it's not a storyline between these two men, it is a continuing storyline of Macho Man and his antics.
You're right. He's snapped. This is crazy Mach. They've finally done it. They've pushed him too far, and he's lost it. And I loved it. It was great because he was insane. But after that, Joseph, things get a little somber. The passing of Ray Stevens, who I have no idea who that is because that's before my time, but I'm sure you do. Tell me
You,
about it, Joseph. Tell me how somber this
I
moment
actually
is.
do not know much about Ray Stevens, but the interesting thing is, and I don't know how often this will happen, but both WCW and WWF will have kind of a moment of not necessarily silence, but just a moment for Ray Stevens. And I love when wrestling companies do that. I think when someone passes away, tribalism and all that stuff needs to go out the window. Just respect the performer. So I love that they both will do this tonight.
Yeah, you're right. I found that very interesting that he was on both, as you said. I looked him up. A lot of people consider him like one of the greatest of all time. He's in the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. He apparently was very good. Passed away here in Fremont, California, which is near where I live up in Northern California. So I tell you, some local talent, even though he's from West Virginia. But rest in peace, Ray Stevens. Next up, Joseph. I was trying to think of a segue, and you probably don't want to make a comedic segue when you talk about someone who died, but I was gonna do it
Yeah,
anyways.
I
But then I
really
couldn't
wanted
really
to
think
see
of
how you were
anything.
gonna pull that off, and I just gave you
Yeah,
some time.
yeah,
Let you think about it.
yeah. You know what else is dead on arrival? The next match. Although
Jesus.
unfortunately, it's a good match.
Jesus. Oh my god. I'm sorry, Ray Stevens. I'd like to apologize
Rest in
on
peace.
behalf of the
Many
Monday
people
Night
seem to
Wars podcast for Scott's antics.
I've already said it. A lot of people think he was really, really influential, very, very important to the modern era of wrestling, one of the best of all time. I've seen all those kind of things, so I'm sure we should go back and play some tape.
Scott
Check it out.
Kaufman's
I'm sure he's great.
comments do not reflect the opinions of the Monday Night Wars podcast.
Whatever, man.
I
Whatever.
can't believe you would
You
say
wanted a
something so
segue. I
controversial.
gave
I
you a
would
segue.
never.
I'm just doing what you told me
Okay.
to do.
Oh, now it's my fault. All right, fair enough.
Yeah. You wanted a segue. I gave you a segue. But the segue really doesn't
Doesn't
work because the next match is Dean Malenko and Jushin Thunder Liger. So we got that. Although Bischoff notes that we have a new WCW World Cruiserweight Champion. I didn't even know there was a Cruiserweight title yet. They keep talking about it. Apparently now we have an inaugural holder. I haven't seen it, but apparently these two guys are wrestling, and whoever wins this match, they're going to face the new WCW Cruiserweight champ. Very exciting. What'd you think of this match, Joseph? I mean, it's good. Steve Malenko, Jushin Thunder Liger. I don't think we need to say much more about it, but I need you to say more about it because we got a show to do and people, we got to tell
Yeah,
people what's
you've
going
spent a
on.
little time on it. I mean, you're not wrong, right?
Yeah.
It's a great match. I gave it a B plus because you're seeing incredible in ring action. If you're a wrestling purist, this would be like an A kind of thing for you. I totally get it. Because I really factor in storylines, I couldn't give it an A. I do enjoy it though. It's a fun match. This is the kind of thing that we're just not seeing on WWF, right? We're not seeing fun matches with established mid-card guys who we want to see on TV, and they're not the same ones every week. And we're just not getting that. Also, the person who is the champion right now, the WCW Cruiserweight champion, allegedly, is Otani. So who knew that Shohei Otani could do everything?
No, it's Shinjiro Otani. It's different
Well, that's
Otani.
because he had to have a different name because of the time he was betting heavily and he wanted to have an alias.
Man, now the Dodgers are gonna come after
I
us.
know we're
You thought
both
what I said
we're
was
both
bad,
diehard Dodger fans, so we can make the joke, okay?
except
We can make it because that's our boy.
yeah, except when the Dodger legal team sends us a letter and says, "No, you can't actually do that."
Oh man, it's
So we'll see. We'll let you know.
what
If you never hear another episode of this podcast,
Yeah.
you'll know why.
What's funny is while I'm making that horrible joke, I'm actually have a Dodger game on in the background, completely muted. Mookie Betts is up at bat. It's the top of the first against the Diamondbacks. So there you go.
That Mookie, pretty
He's
good
pretty
though.
good. Batting
Pretty good.
368.
Yeah.
Guy's killing it. Anyways, let's get back to wrestling. I've derailed us.
Let's focus on the task at hand. And that's talking about WCW Nitro, May 6, 1996.
You know, one thing that is weird about this
You could,
match though, Scott, is that Flair
yeah. Tell me more about the match because you really haven't told me
no,
much about the match. You made an Otani joke, and I don't know what's going on. The people need to
So we're
know.
having this, phenomenal match, right? Is it the best match ever? No, but it's a great match. We're having this great match, and in the middle of this great match, Ric Flair comes out with his harem of women. Oh, I got it. His flarum of women comes out with his flarum of women, and they start dining at this prearranged table, and they're having like champagne, and they're having like lobster or something, and it's just like okay, well that okay, that's going on. I guess we'll get back to the match now. And then we do. We just get back to the match and we kind of ignore that for a bit. That'll return in a segment, I think, after this match. And it's just a very weird transition in the middle of it. But it's a great match. There's certain matches that will say it's not worth explaining and just go ahead and watch it. Right. We've said that before with certain matches. We're like, this match is so good, you should just turn on this episode and watch it. I would say this is kind of one of those matches. Again, it's kind of a wrestling purist match. we could, establish every single move, but it's just not worth it. You could just watch it and enjoy it. I think that's a better way of doing it.
Well, Dean Malenko defeats Jushin Thunder Liger 8 minutes, 50 seconds, and I gotta say, I'm a little mad I didn't think of Flair him. I'm a little mad.
I
That's a
I
good
thought
one.
of it while I was watching it, and I went, "Oh man, Scott's gonna love this."
I do love it, but I'm kinda mad that I didn't think of it. But as you said, Ric Flair, after the match, we go over to Mean Gene, who was with the Rickster and the Flairum, and Joseph. Ric Flair, he's getting wild. He's styling and profiling. There's a lot of woos. It's a beautiful thing. It's Flair. I thought this was a good one. This is a good Flair. Did you think this was a
I
good
also
Flair?
thought it was a good Flair. I gave this one an A. I love everything that he does in this, from just going nuts and being, the ladies' man, to all of a sudden, who does he spot? Who does he spot, Scott?
Deborah McMichaels in the front row.
Always in the front row for some reason.
Mrs. Mongo
And
herself.
and Flair spots her and says, can you please deliver some champagne to her, please? And they deliver the champagne. She pours it out. She pours it out. She's not about it. She doesn't like getting hit on by Ric Flair. Yes, she does. Anyways, she doesn't like getting hit on by Ric Flair. And then Ric Flair says, "I understand she is from the state of Texas. Mean Gene, before it's over, you're gonna know why they call me an all-around cowboy honey." My God, what a ridiculous line. I loved it so much. It's so bad. Let me be clear. It's a horrible line, but Ric Flair is the kind of man who can pull off an absurd line. I think she's gonna be on Space Mountain. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, it works because that's his character, right? He's a chauvinist pig. That's what makes it funny. He's ridiculous. Yeah, and like you said, deliver some champagne to Mrs. Mongo. Champagne for Mrs. Mongo. Champagne for Mrs. Mongo. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're trying to do there. I don't
You
think I don't
get
think
that
it's
reference.
working.
Anyways, yeah. So another great Flair promo, and then we get another promo. We get a Glacier promo. Glacier's coming. Blood's gonna run cold. I'm so excited. When is he gonna debut, Joseph? When is he gonna debut?
Some say he still hasn't debuted to this day.
Yeah, it's not gonna be for
Yeah.
months,
Don't they just
years
keep
even.
saying coming soon? Like, they never give a date?
It happened for a long time. Let me look it up real fast. September 9th, 1996 is his debut.
That's honestly not as long as I thought it was. I thought this thing was gonna go on till, like, '97.
I mean, still, that's
It
like what,
Yeah,
three,
it's still
four
quite a few
months?
months, but it's significantly less than I thought it was. But, yeah, it's still not great.
But a hype video every week for like 4
Yeah.
months. And two, the thing too, like they spent like a lot of money on his costume when it finally comes, like the helmet and all that stuff. They spent a lot of money on him, and he just like I liked him as a kid, but the moment was gone. They completely botched. I'm sorry, Glacier. I'm sorry that happened to you. Sting versus the Lord, Steven Regal himself. We love to see it. We love Sting. We love Steven Regal. Sting defeats Steven Regal 6 minutes 13 seconds. Of note during the match, though, Bobby stirring the pot about Deborah and the Rickster. Mongo don't like it. I think he might legitimately not like it. But what'd you think about the match? What'd you think about the commentary? Obviously, this Ric Flair Mongo Deborah thing is going to turn into a terrible storyline where Mongo starts wrestling, which he should not have done. He should have stayed on commentary. A lot of people knock him, but he really grew on us on commentary. He never grows on us as a wrestler.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think it's fine to have kind of the playful back and forth, even to have, if you wanted to make Deborah McMichael an on-screen kind of, character, I'm okay with that for the most part. But you're right. He just, beyond commentary, he never really does anything for us. We do enjoy him on commentary. And I like what Bobby the Brain's doing, right? He's riling him up, which is what should happen from a storyline standpoint. I thought it's fine. Honestly, that part of the match I didn't really care about as much as the actual match itself. I gave this match a B. It's a lot of fun. It's a very simple, straightforward match, but both men have incredible chemistry. I don't know how often they actually like wrestle each other, but every time they do, they have a really decent match. It's always just a lot of fun. Sting's wearing New Orleans colors for some reason, but they're in Daytona Beach, so I don't really know that. But at least he's moved away from the rainbow tights that he's worn like 3 weeks in a row, but I think he'll go right back to it. Regardless, on the other side, we have Regal, who as you might remember, just had that match last week, the parking lot brawl match. So he's a little banged up, a little worse for wear. This dude has wrappings all over his body. Like every part of his body has wrappings, and it's fantastic. It's pretty absurd, and I love it. I love every single bit of that. But like I said, it's a really decent match. It's got an obvious ending. No one expects Regal to win this match, but it's a lot of fun.
And of note, during the match, we're told that the Belfast Bruiser, he's out at Slamboree. Remember, he and Lord Steven Regal were put together for the Lethal Lottery, and he's out. We were kind of looking forward to that, but I guess we'll never get it.
The tag team we always hope for, it's just never gonna happen.
It could have been big, could have been huge, but
Could have been
them's
could
the
have been like
troubles.
a giant.
Whoa. Speaking of giants, that's our next match. How exciting. It's the Giant versus who, Joseph? Who is the Giant
Well,
wrestling?
they've
Tell
been
me.
advertising it all night. He's facing Lex Luger for the WCW title, right?
Oh, is he? It's not him. It's even better. I want you to guess. I want you to guess who could possibly be facing the Giant for the WCW World Heavyweight
And you're
title.
telling me that it's better than Goofy Lex?
Yeah. Supposedly Lex no-showed. That's what I read. I don't know if that's true, but supposedly he no-showed, so they had to put someone else in. And who do you think rivals Lex Luger? I mean, Lex Luger is, say what you want, but he's a total package. He's ripped, he's big, he's athletic. He is a contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. So clearly you need someone else of his
Someone else
caliber.
who's big and ripped
Mhm.
and strong and
Yeah, that could go
and
against the
really a
Giant.
total package.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, is Hogan back?
No.
Well, then who, Scott?
Even better. I will tell you, Hacksaw Jim Duggan,
Oof,
my
when I think
friend.
of ripped, that's who I think of.
What? I love
I do
Hacksaw.
too.
I love Hacksaw. But this is the match. The Giant versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And you might be surprised to find out that the Giant kind of destroys him. Hacksaw loses. The Giant retains the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. 3 minutes 16 seconds. Joseph, tell me about how they did my boy Dirt.
I will say I enjoyed that when the Giant was still trying to get into the ring, Hacksaw just starts going at him because, like, yeah, you might as well, right? What hope do you have in this match? And he just starts wailing on him, but then very quickly the tide turns and Giant ends up winning. There is a USA chant because there's got to be. And is Giant a foreigner? Is it El Gigante? Is that what we're dealing with here?
Everyone's a foreigner when facing Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
It's a really odd end to the show. This is really the only misstep of the whole night. And if he did no show, that explains why. Because you just have this very odd, like, okay, so far we'd had pretty much a stacked night for WCW, and this is just kind of out of the blue. I don't mind the matchup. I just mind how it got thrown together kind of last minute. And then you kind of have like the Giant starts fighting post match, like the whole WCW, and that's kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah, the locker room clears and he choke slams everybody. Locker room clears, he choke slams everybody. Ric Flair comes from behind, hits him with a wooden chair. Giant no sells it. Sting comes down. It's everybody. And then Joseph, what happens? Someone shows up.
Is it Hulk Hogan?
No. No, so Sting's there. He's going at the Giant. Everyone's loving it. Luger comes out and he's got a briefcase.
Did he win Money in the
What's
Bank?
going on? I don't know. I actually have
Yeah,
no idea
I
what's going
I
on.
actually my note here is nothing gets settled. What? What a weird fucking ending. I have no idea what happened at the end of this.
Yeah, I mean, Mean Gene Luger comes out with a briefcase, Sting's there, Mean Gene comes into the ring. We're trying to make heads or tails of it. Sting asks Luger where he's been. We don't really get an answer, and we're done. That's it. That's the show. I don't know. I really don't know what's going on. I don't think they knew what was going on. I think they were like, shit, how do we end this one?
That's wild because they started off so well too.
Yeah, it just kind of chaos. I actually kind of liked it for how nuts it was, because they clearly had no idea what they were doing, and they like kitchen sinked it, everything.
Yeah.
A pull apart, ending on kind of a cliffhanger. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I know what's going on with us. We're moving on because we have to, because that's it. And we got Monday Night Raw, May 6th, 1996, from the Civic Auditorium in Sioux City, Iowa. The Civic Auditorium. We got Vince, we got Jerry, and we got some wrestling. Again, as we said, show dedicated to Ray Stevens. Both productions have noted him. So very nice, very nice. And certainly we would never say anything or speak of him unprofessionally, because we have a lot of love for him too, right?
Yeah, before today, I knew so much about Ray Stevens. Didn't have to look him up at all.
Absolutely. I did look him up. Like I said, there's a lot there. He's apparently pretty prolific, inspired a lot of guys, was big in the business and those sorts of things. But we start with some like some Hollywood insider kind of stuff. We got a woman in the shadows.
Oh god.
They say she's the oh
I
yeah. Oh yeah,
forgot.
we're getting right
Yeah.
into it. We're getting into the nitty-gritty here. It's the ex-wife of a professional wrestler who says home wrecker Shawn destroyed her marriage and her life. That's heavy. What'd you think of this, Joseph? I mean, some pretty damning accusations being made
So
about your boy.
this is a snippet of a segment that's gonna happen later. So like I did last week, we'll talk about it then.
Whoa. Whoa, no comment. Wow. No comment. As soon as we find your boy behaving badly, Joseph got no comment. Mhm. Let's move on then. Let's move on. Let's move on to Mark Marrow versus the 1-2-3 Kid. We got Hunter Hearst Helmsley on commentary. I like Hunter Hearst Helmsley on commentary. I think he's pretty good. We got the Wild Man. We got the 1-2-3 Kid. We got Sable. We got Ted DiBiase. We got everybody. And Mark Marrow, he beats the 1-2-3 Kid. Joseph, tell me about the
Mark
match.
Merrill almost murdered the 1-2-3 Kid with a sunset flip. It was pretty gnarly spot. 1-2-3 Kid sporting a goatee. That's new. I think he's been off TV for a while. I don't remember the last time we've seen him. It's been definitely a few months. The last time was the match where he and Razor there was like a diaper match, right? That was like the last thing that he even did. And I don't think we've seen him since then. And now we have him and Ted DiBiase, and we've kind of noted that Ted DiBiase seems to be, pretty close to his way out of the company. So, and 1-2-3 Kid, I don't think he's that long, that far behind him. So it's a very kind of odd.
And Kevin Nash are gone. Ted DiBiase will be gone shortly thereafter. 1-2-3 Kid will be gone shortly after that. Everyone's
Yeah. So
going.
this is just kind of it's interesting that they used him. I don't know if he hadn't let them know. He may have just not told them that he was leaving yet. So that might be why he's on TV. Because I feel like with someone like 1-2-3 Kid, Vince would probably just rather bury him because he's not a huge name at the time. He's just kind of a lower to mid card guy. It's the second straight week with a fun opener, though. This is a fun match. It's nice. It's a decent match. Both men good in the ring, like you mentioned. Hunter Hearst Helmsley very good on commentary, kind of continuing his storyline with him and Mark Marrow and Sable. And then Jerry Lawler says that Sable looks like a horse, which is interesting because Jerry Lawler looks like
Yeah.
a bratwurst
Yeah.
with a mullet.
He does. That's actually a really good point.
So overall, the match got a B for me.
Well, you didn't mention that Hunter Hearst Helmsley tries to
Oh yeah, that's
interfere.
right. That's right.
Tries to give Mark Merrill the low blow, but it doesn't work. Mark's a wild man. He counters it, pins Kid, he wins. It's a beautiful thing. You can't stop the wild man. And I think that's great too because, this match is kind of a throwaway match, I mean, you say that maybe one they didn't know 1, 2, 3 Kid was leaving. Maybe they did. I mean, that's why he
Could be,
lost.
yeah.
But I mean, it does tell the story, right? This is setting up for Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Mark Merrow to go at it at the pay-per-view. Hunter Hearst Helmsley tried to interfere, didn't work. It keeps the story going. I thought it was pretty good, and like you said, Mark Merrow, 1, 2, 3 Kid are good wrestlers, so I didn't really have a problem with this. After that, we're reminded of our favorite Caribbean strap match. We see Savio Vega attacking Steve Austin. Savio had challenged him to this match. Steve Austin and Ted DiBiase said no, but then Savio embarrassed him, beat him with the strap, and now they say, yeah, we're gonna have the match. And if Savio loses, he has to be Ted DiBiase's chauffeur. What do you make of this, Joseph?
Where would good wrestling be if it wasn't for just a little hint of racism, Scott?
Some
Yeah,
subtle
just
racism?
just a playful smattering of it. Look, to be fair, they won't just do these kinds of storylines with minorities, right? They like Shawn Michaels very famously way later on will do a storyline that's similar to this, where he actually has to be JBL's like basically his assistant, and because of reasons we don't need to get into it. But so it's not like the only time they're going to do is with this, but it is kind of like all right. And I think this is the final storyline that we'll see Ted DiBiase in. So kind of goes out with a whimper, but all right, it is what it is.
Speaking of Sean gimmicks, Sean storylines, we're back with the woman in the shadows. She says she slept with Sean. Sean was naturally the best she's ever had. I mean, how could he not be? How could he not be? He's a heartbreak kid. Heartbreak kid. Destroyed her marriage though, because how couldn't it? And now Sean is doing it again to another married woman. It's got to be Diana and the British Bulldog, right? How could you allow this to happen, Joseph?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's my bad. My note here is some bimbo calls HBK a home wrecker. That's my note.
The homewrecker kid, Shawn Michaels.
Oh man, HWK shirts, that'd be so good. Look, this is ridiculous. It's not ridiculous in a good, fun way. It got an F for me. We're talking about like if you look at this from like a real perspective, right? Adultery is never a one person thing. Like that just doesn't happen. So we're talking about it like he's the bad guy. No, if this was a real thing, if this was a real situation, by the way, Andy Pa has just hit a home run. If this was a real situation, this would be both people are at fault. Why is it just one guy? But it's not a real thing. So they're trying to turn into the storyline where like HBK is a bad guy, but HBK being the valiant baby face has to defend himself. It doesn't work in any instance. It doesn't help anybody. This storyline doesn't promote British Bulldog. It doesn't promote Shawn Michaels. If anything, it hurts both men by being in this storyline. I don't know who thought of this or signed off on it. It's so bad. Gets an F.
Not my favorite storyline, as you know, and we've already talked about. And this storyline drags. I think they do this, they just kind of camera stuff for a while, I think, but I think they drop this fairly quickly and then they just focus more on the Sean and Diana, maybe. Like, do they even say they had a fling or that just Sean is
It's
trying? I
the
can't even
idea is
remember,
that
but
Sean tried to get her to sleep with him, apparently, like tried to coerce her in some sort of way, and being a good strong woman, she said no, but then told British Bulldog, and so he's pissed. And of course, it'll all become a farce. We'll find out it was all fake and it was lies later on. But who does this help? Doesn't help Diana. Doesn't help Bulldog. Jim Cornette. And I mean, look, you can say what you want about Jim Cornette, nowadays, but great storyteller, right? We've commented on it a number of times how he can really weave together storylines where you're like, there's no way to make this work, and then Jim Cornette finds a way. He will not find a way to make this work. It doesn't work for anybody.
But it leads us to our next match because British Bulldog is in it. He's wrestling Fatu, and all I can say is, "Oh, poor Fatu. We know how this is gonna go." Because I mean, it has to, right? Davey Boy Smith, he's mad. The British Bulldog is mad. Shawn has tried to cheat, try to get his wife to cheat on him. He is enraged, and he's going to take it out on Fatu. They go back and forth for a while. Bulldog mimics Shawn for a little bit, making fun of him, clearly telling Shawn he's gunning for him. The Samoan Nation comes out, though. They come out to see Fatu wrestle. That's beautiful. I love it when family comes together. I mean, a British Bulldog can have family. Why can't Fatu have family? But Fatu does lose, so that's kind of unfortunate. A fairly long match, though. 10 minutes, 30 seconds. Joseph, what'd you make of this? And, I love me some Fatu. I love that he's trying to make a
I
difference. And it's just unfortunate that this
I,
had to
I was
happen to
actually going
him.
to say that Fatu does a great job of making a difference for this show because this is a fun match.
That's
It's a
beautiful.
fun match
That's
between both
beautiful, man.
men. It got a B minus for me. I was going to give it a solid B, but the commentary is ear grating. Jerry Lawler's so bad, and it's just like he won't stop it. Because what they're doing is they're talking about the Shawn and British Bulldog stuff. That's what they're trying to put over, which really does take from the match because they won't let it go, and it doesn't work. And Vince is sitting there defending Shawn, which he doesn't need to because again, the storyline doesn't make sense. And Jerry is being a heel. To be fair, it's being a heel, and he's doing heel work, so I can at least give him credit for that. He's just annoying more than anything. Unfortunately, in the ring, we have a really fun match. We have Bulldog absolutely having one of the best TV matches I think we've seen from him the entire run of this podcast. He is really shining in this, and like you said, it's a 10-minute match. He's giving Fatu plenty of time and plenty of ability to showcase his own skills. And Fatu even does that thing, he'll do it for many years, where Bulldog clotheslines him, and he does that like backward spinning flip thing to really sell the clothesline. And you're like, this dude's ginormous. How does he pull that off? Like it's very impressive, and it's a lot of fun. It's a good match, and it's just kind of an unfortunate commentary situation. So I gave it a B minus because the commentary really does take away from it. But if you put it on mute, you're gonna enjoy the hell out of this match.
After the match, though, Fatu talks to the Samoans. Tells him he's good, man. WWF is his family. That's beautiful. WWF means family. That was a Lilo and Stitch reference. I don't know if you got that.
I really don't like that movie.
You don't like
I
that
don't.
movie.
No, I'm not a fan of it. Came out when I was a kid.
Can I tell
Go
you a
ahead. Go ahead.
Can I tell you a secret? I've never seen that movie. I just know that line from that
What
movie.
Ohana means
I don't know
family?
anything about
That line?
Yeah, it's the only thing I've ever seen. I've never seen that movie.
All right.
Up
Guys,
next, though,
we've lost our minds today on this episode.
speaking of I had, ladies and gentlemen, I had a long day at work today, and I'm just trying to make the days go by. And let me tell you, I've never seen Lilo and Stitch, and I wish I had never seen the next match because it's the Body Donnas versus Techno Team 2000, our favorite Techno Team 2000. Uh, Both these teams not real great, not a title match. What do you make of this?
You know what's crazy is Techno Team 2000, which is absolutely aggravating to have to say it completely every single time. But Techno Team 2000 will actually have a pretty lengthy career in WWF. Like as a tag team, they'll be here for like 4 years. It's insane. And they're not terrible. They have fun tag team moves. They have good chemistry together, but they have just a horrible look. They've got these just awful, gaudy silver jackets, and when they take off the jackets, they've got these black undershirts that are just like sleeveless. It's kind of like what Christian Cage is wearing right now in AEW, but his is part of the gimmick and he sells it, so it works really well. And I actually thoroughly enjoy it. But it doesn't work for them, and they've got really bad face paint. And I think their tights are actually pretty cool. So I think if you took off the jacket, took off the black undershirt, took off the face paint, changed their name to anything else, they probably could have been a decent tag team. But instead they're given whatever this is, and have to have this match with the Body Donnas, and so that's yep, that's gonna be what it is. And unfortunately, during this match, it does look like Zip, aka Tom Pritchard, takes a really nasty bump when he whiffs a diving elbow. This is not a botch, by the way. I'm not gonna make I don't I'm not gonna make fun of people who make a mistake. That's horrible. But it's supposed to be he intentionally is supposed to miss because his opponent's supposed to roll out of the way. But when that happens, he lands flat on his back and his head just slams, it snaps back into the canvas, and it clearly affects him for the rest of the match. And Tom Pritchard is a good in-ring performer, as is Chris Candido. So for the rest of the match, he really can't move the way he needs to. He's just kind of got his bell rung, and then the match is just kind of meh. I didn't give it lower than a C because I thought everybody did as well as they could. It's not the worst thing I've seen, but it just doesn't really do anything for me.
I will say I don't understand. You said you kind of liked. I mean, you didn't like Techno Team 2000's like top, but you kind of like the pants. I just don't get how any of it has anything to do with techno. I don't think they know what techno is. Are they like robots? Like I thought that they were like you know, oons 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 techno guys. Are they supposed to be like robots? I don't know. What is this?
No
What
one
is it?
knows, Scott, but it's provocative.
Man, you never know what's going to happen in the WWF. But what does happen is Skip and Zip defeat the Techno Team 2000 in 9 minutes and 15 seconds. Again, also any kind of any match that the Body Donnas are in, it seems kind of like it's not really about the Body Donnas. It's more kind of a vehicle for Sunny, which is another issue. And that was another one of these matches where we spend a lot of time focusing on Sunny, what Sunny's doing and what Sunny's saying and kind of all that stuff. And it's just like, just let these dudes wrestle,
Oh,
man.
and Jerry Lawler's new favorite thing to talk about is Sonny's assets. Ha 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 ha.
Puppies! We'll get there. We will get there. And I will probably go on one of my famous feminist rants when we get there. But we're not there yet. But we are to our main event, Joseph. Well, I guess we're not quite there yet because I forgot that there's a little promo between Vader and Jim Cornette talking about Yokozuna. They're not worried about Yokozuna. Vader's also not worried about Duke DeRosie. Vader's not worried about anyone. You got any comments about this, or should we head straight to the main
I'm
event?
glad that you called this out because I was gonna pull you back. I was gonna go, we aren't there yet, Scott, but you self-corrected, so I got to give you props for that. I gave it a C. Jim Cornette does his best to build hype for the match between Vader and Yokozuna. This is the thing I've been talking about. This is the one thing I didn't want to see Vader do, and they're continuing with it. And I just can't get hyped for this match. It doesn't do anything for me, so it's just kind of whatever. And like you said, it's pretty short, so we just move right on into the main event.
And the main event is Undertaker and Owen Hart. So right there, I'm excited. This is going to be a good match. It's a long match. It's almost 10 minutes, 9 minutes, 15 seconds. And it is good. But The Undertaker wins. He defeats Owen Hart. And Joseph, why don't you give me that blow by blow? Give me that play by play. Tell me what's
Well,
going on.
I'm surprised that you weren't upset of this match because Owen does not get an entrance. Your boy gets done dirt.
You know, I forgot about that. And now you're bringing back a lot of trauma. And it hurts me. It hurts me. It hurts me greatly because Owen Hart, best heart, you got to give my boy an entrance.
But you know who does get an entrance, Scott?
Who gets an entrance?
Goldust comes out to commentary, and he has his own gold headset, which is chef's kiss. It's so good. And Vince tells him during this bit of him on commentary before Takers come out that he will actually be facing Undertaker in a casket match at the next In Your House. And Goldust loses his mind, and Taker comes out, and Goldust sells his fear of the Undertaker so well. He's literally shouting no 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 for like 20 minutes, and it's hilarious and it's so good. I do wonder why they're feuding because that really doesn't get explained in this. And he was just in a feud with Ultimate Warrior, and now is that over? And why is that over? And what?
Ultimate Warrior's time with the company was short. It may already be over, and they were like,
I
shit,
I really I really
Undertaker.
think maybe what was going on is they were probably, like, in a situation where he's, like, no showing stuff, and they went, "We gotta pivot somehow." I don't really know. I haven't been able to look into it, but we do get to the match eventually, and there's a spot where Owen hits a diving drop kick and then sets up the sharpshooter, only to have Taker grab him by the neck, which is great, except doesn't end with Taker hitting a choke slam, which I really would have liked. It just he hit some knees. I thought that was kind of an odd choice to end it, but it was a really cool counter overall. I thought that was interesting. The match is honestly, good as or good character work from all three men. Taker is being the Taker that we know. He hasn't become the new Undertaker. That'll, I think, come within the next year. He kind of transitions into a newish type of character. That hasn't happened quite yet. Owen really sells, the fact that he's getting the crap beaten out of him by the Undertaker. Also, he's kind of afraid of Taker to an extent, but he's going to give it his all. And then Goldust is just going all over the place, and I love that. And eventually, the Paul Bearer ends up bringing out a casket, and it's all gold, and it has Goldust's name on it in a Hollywood star Walk of Fame. I thought that was a really nice touch. Again, I don't know why we're having this rivalry, but I'm instantly into this rivalry the way I was not with Goldust versus Ultimate Warrior. So I gave it a B. I actually like the segment, even though I don't know why any of it's happening.
Yeah, my guess is they just have to pivot from Warrior, and this is what we got. But I think it's done well. I mean, obviously, it's a completely new storyline. We have no idea why, but I think it's told well here tonight. So that's fun. Owen does get a tombstone, ends the match for him, and that's pretty much it. I think we largely end there, right? As you said, the casket is wheeled out. Goldust is like, oh, hell no. And he runs, and then we're done. So, Joseph, who won? Who had the better show tonight?
I thought that WWF had a vast improvement from the previous week. We really, really kind of crapped all over that. That was a bad week from WWF. I think I even wrote on the podcast kind of like sub story that it's a historically bad WWF Raw. It was really bad. So this week I think they have a nice pivot back, but even with that, they're still very weighed down by the Shawn Michaels storyline. It just isn't working, and they do spend about half of the episode talking about it, which doesn't help them. And even though WCW had a very strange ending, they were pretty much on fire all the way kind of to that point. So I'm going to give it to WCW. I much preferred that program.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I agree with you.
That's never
WCW is
happened
the better
before.
one. It's never happened. I knew it was gonna be earth shattering. You heard it here first. I agreed with Joseph. We agree all the time. That's the joke, ladies and gentlemen. But even though you're not a big fan of Hugh Morris, I think he and Randy Savage wrestled a
Correct.
good match. Dean Malenko, Jushin Thunder Liger wrestled a good match. Sting, Lord Steven Regal wrestled a good match. Hell, even the giant hacksaw Jim Duggan, I felt like Jim Duggan did what he needed to do in that match, right? He sold it. It was fun. We knew he wasn't going to win. It worked for me. The ending was a mess because they didn't know what to do. I'm still okay with that. I was kind of okay with the mess. I don't mind ending on a kind of just mayhem cliffhanger like that. I'm okay with it. Tune in next week. Find out what this is all about. Make sense of it because they haven't made sense of it yet. So they need a week to figure it out too. So tune in next week. And, we like Mark Maron, we like 1-2-3 Kid and Davey Boy Smith and Fatu and all that, but we did not like Skip and Zip's Techno Team 2000 match, even though they're fine wrestlers. The Undertaker Owen Hart match was fine, but the Goldust rivalry just kind of came out of nowhere, and that's really the focus, and we don't know why. And it's not great. It's not great. But who do the fans think won,
Well,
Joseph?
somehow after what was the worst Raw we've seen to date, Raw pulled in a 4.1 on their Nielsen this week.
Yeah, they blew WCW out of the water. 4.1. WCW had a 1.9. That might be the lowest. That's the lowest rating for WCW since week 3 of Nitro. And that's the highest rated Raw since they were alone. What, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. They got a 4.7. But when they went head to head, I'm looking here, 4.14. There's no fours. The entire time, they've never gotten a 4 except for the one time they ran unopposed. What happened? What is this?
It's baffling to me. It makes no sense. I don't know what, like, again, we kind of had this theory, right? That if you have a good week, fans will tune in probably the next week. Or if you've had kind of momentum, fans will tune in. WWF has not had either of those things. They've really struggled and somehow pulled a 4.1 out of nowhere as Will Smith hits a home run.
Getting jiggy with it. Na 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 na. What? Anyways, that was like a Castellano hits a line drive. You know? It's just, but yeah, I don't understand because Raw was not great last week. There's nothing on this card that makes you say, like, I gotta tune in. I mean, Undertaker and Owen Hart are great, but you see those guys all the time. This isn't anything out of this world. Were people really? Do you think it was the Shawn thing? Do you think people were tuning in for
I
that?
mean,
I'm serious. Is that
well,
what they were tuning in for?
as we've noted, Scott, wrestling is still real at this time. So maybe they were like, dude, this is crazy that Shawn would do such things, and we got to tune in. It's dumb if that's why they
Yeah,
tuned in, but
maybe.
I don't know. Maybe Vince was onto something for a week.
Or do you think, I don't know how these ratings were actually collected, if people watch the entire show, if they click around and they double count people. I'm wondering if maybe people were watching Nitro, got to the main event, Lex Luger isn't in it, it's Giant versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and people are like, nah, and flipped it. Do you think that could be it?
Could be, but it's still, again, this is almost, these numbers for both shows are so holy crap skewed. It looks like someone made a mistake when they were calculating because it's such an insane differential between the two of them, and neither of them have done this well or this poorly the entire time.
And they're wrong, most
Yes,
importantly, because they disagree with
100%.
us. And I'm going to end it there, Joseph, because I can't think about this anymore. It hurts my brain. I am Scott. With me, as always, is Joseph. Thanks for listening. See you next
All right,
week.
guys.
Bye, guys.
Hey everybody, it's Joseph. And guess what? Not only can you listen to us every Monday on Spotify, but you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Podcasts as well. Just search for Monday Night Wars Podcasts. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at MON Night Wars Pod, on Instagram at Monday Night Wars Podcast, or just email us at mnwpodcast@gmail.com. And finally, subscribe to our Patreon at Monday Night Wars Podcast. For $2 a month, you get every pay-per-view from WCW and WWF during this era, as well as additional content later on. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you here next time on the Monday Night Wars Podcast.